Okay, now what we're going to be doing is the center ball joint using a derived sketch, and in order to do that, we're going to have to use some reference geometry, a reference plane. But what we'll do to start with is a lot like what we did for the ball joint arm. At least the sketch part of it's the same. And matter of fact, even the dimensions for a lot of the sketch are identical to the previous exercise. So, as always, we'll start a new file. We'll select part, create a new part file. And I want to do some housekeeping things here to start with. Let's do view origins so that we can see the origins. And let's also view sketch relations. Actually, sketch relations was already on. Okay, and then we want to check in tools and options, and we want to make sure that our under document properties, we want to make sure that the dimensions are set up for 3 decimal places, and also that we're working in inches for units, and we are, so we're okay there. So I'm going to click OK. If I can get down here to where, yeah, there we go. So we've taken care of that. Now we want to make sure that we've got a front view, and we also want to make sure that we're starting with the front plane. And we will begin a sketch. One of the things about this sketch is that we're going to have to, or to make it easier for us, we need to mirror it. So I'm going to start out with a center line, and we're going to make it vertical, and we'll just come out here somewhere and start with one and stick it in there. Nothing important, nothing real critical at this point. Alright, then we'll come back with another line, and what we'll do is start about right here, this time a solid line, and come all the way until we intersect with that vertical center line. We'll take a circle, bring it out here. We don't really care a whole lot about the actual size right now. Back to a line, start out here, there a little ways, on out to there, horizontally out until we intersect with that center line, and that should do it. With all that done, well, let me mention one thing here. Normally you'd want to close a sketch like that, but we know that we're going to be mirroring this before we revolve it, so we're going to kind of leave it open there, at least open in the sense that we've got a for construction only line here at that end. And until we can finish up the sketch, I want to stop with my lines there and do some trimming. Okay, so I'm going to trim the closest, get rid of that, get rid of the extra line out there, get rid of that little segment, and that should give us something that'll allow us to do some dimensioning. Okay, first we need to use our smart dimension. Click on our radius, set it, should be, so your textbook calls for 368.368. Alright, so we've set that, and while we're at it, let's also dimension this, which should be 0.125. Alright, and then I'm also going to dimension that, which should be 0.275. Not sure what's going on there. Oh, I see what it's doing. I think what's happened there is that when I pulled that line down, somehow it got to be tangent with that. And so what we need to do is remove that relation. So let's take a look at some of the relations that are involved there, and we see that it horizontal's okay, but tangent's one that we don't want there. So let's delete that. All right, now we should be able to go back and dimension that line there at 275. So let's go back and smart dimension, click here and there, and make that 275. Now we're cooking. So just be careful. At some point, when I drew that line, maybe it had the software had automatically chosen to make this line tangent to the top of that circle. So we want to make sure that you don't do that, because it made it over defined. Now the only thing that we've got a problem with is that this point right here can still move, so we need to define that dimension. Let's dimension that from here to here. That needs to be, according to the textbook, 0.475. And then the overall length from here to here, what do we do there? The overall length from here to here needs to be 1.250. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and trim this line and that line, and we'll adjust these dimension lines here a little bit, make everything more compact. Bring this one in a little bit, bring this one in, and then zoom it so that we can kind of see what we're working with. So now as you can see, we've got a fully defined sketch. Need to make sure that you can see the fully defined part down there. See here, it's fully defined, and we need to at this point we need to mirror that part, or mirror the sketch. So what we can do is say mirror entities, and it wants to know which ones to mirror. Well, this is for construction, so actually what we can do is just bring a window down over that and select them all, and then we want to know which line to mirror about. Click that window and click that line, and it looks like everything's okay, so we're going to click the check mark. And now that all that has been carried over to the now that the mirror image has been created, it's defined also. One thing that I realize I've forgotten is the radii in that place right there. So let's see if we can change the radii on one side, and if the mirror will carry it over to the other. Well, it's got my fillet grayed out there. Let's try editing the sketch. Okay, so now let's choose my fillet. I'm going to choose that line and that line. Oh, it's not going to carry it over. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back and handle those fillets before we actually mirror it. I wish I hadn't forgotten those, but I did. So we'll make sure that that's 050, and we'll fillet those. Alright, now we should be able, once we click OK, we should be able to go back and mirror those things. And as I said, we can select the whole thing and then ask it to mirror about our center line. Alright, so now we've got everything set up the way it goes. I'm going to go back and turn the sketch relations off so that that gets a little bit less busy. And you can see that we've got a mirrored image here that's fully defined, since this was defined when we started out. And the only thing we'll need to do now is revolve it. Now, one of the things it's wanting to know, it wants to know whether you want to revolve it about that line or whether we need to revolve it about this line. And this is the line we want to use. So let's choose that one, and it automatically does the rest for us. We did want a blind revolution, and we did want to go 360 degrees. So we'll click OK. Now we've got a part here that's about halfway done. We can move it around here a little bit and move it around and take a look at it. Feel proud of ourselves for getting this far, but we've still got one other step that we need to do. And what we want to do is create a plane in the middle of this part that we can use to mirror, or actually the word for it is actually the title of the exercise is a derived sketch. So we want to create a plane here that we can use to create a derived sketch. And the way we'll do that is we'll insert a reference plane. So we'll go up here to reference geometry, and we want to insert a reference plane. Okay, and it's going to ask you a couple of different things here. And the first reference, what it's asking you is, how do I know, how do I position a plane in your drawing to make it work like you want it to? And so what we want to do is say, all right, from the let's see here, front plane, top plane, from the right plane we want to move over a little bit, actually into the middle of the part, and create a new plane. So our first reference is going to be the right plane. Okay, and so that says that it's fully defined. That's all we really need to do in order to create that. In the textbook, they're asking you to offset that plane, in other words, from the right plane over to the reference plane. The textbook says to offset at 1.25 inches. and that'll bring us exactly to the middle of that part. It's already at 1.25 there, here in the offset. See if I, let's run that in and out just a little bit. If I offset it only 0.65 inches, it would be there. If we go the full 1.25, the reference plane will be here. So we've got that positioned where we want. We'll go ahead and click check, and so we're in good shape. Right now we've got a new plane called plane 1 that's right there in the middle of our part. Now we need to select plane number 1, and then hold your control down and select sketch number 1. There you go. Alright, so now we've got the plane selected and we've got the sketch selected, and we go up to insert, derived sketch. Alright, now what has happened there is that it's picked up the sketch from the front plane, and it's allowing us to spin it around and put it on the new reference plane that we've created. It's shown in blue right now because it's not defined. In other words, we haven't pinned it down well enough. So in order to pin it down, what we're going to do is add a couple of relations. First of all, we're going to dictate that plane 1 and this line well, I didn't see that line up there. Add relation, and we're going to make sure that the top plane, let's do this line and the top plane are collinear. Alright, and then the second thing is that we're going to make sure that the front plane, we're going to add another relation. We want to make sure that this and the front plane, we've got too many things selected there. Make sure that the center line and the front plane are collinear. Alright, now you notice that the sketch is black again, so that means it's fully defined. It says fully defined down here. And now it's a sketch in our own reference plane, just like our other sketch was in the front plane, and we can go to features and do a revolve boss and base, blind 360 degrees, and axis of revolution is this line, and we'll make sure we merge the result, check mark. There we go. So now we've got a part at 90 degrees to the original one. The only thing left to do is create a fillet, and we want to make sure that that is filleted at 0.10 inches, which it is. We'll just select the intersections that we want the fillet to go in, click, and we're good. We'll go back here to another view, take a look at what it looks like without all the take a look at what it looks like with all the hidden lines. Got a pretty slick part. Now I'll just need to save it. I'm going to save it to the desktop, and I'm going to call it LD what do we call that? Call it LD center ball joint. And that should take care of it. Hope this has helped.